So even if there was a future in blockchain, I don't think the industry will be able to understand it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Disco Shaman TV. I have a brand new guest. He's a very interesting guest. His name is Richard Sowada. He is the director for
the Revelation Perth International Film Festival and freelance curator. I'm also an academic, actually. I'm doing a PhD at the moment, so really? I guess that makes me some kind of scholar.
Oh, awesome. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, no, it's a real pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So you're studying now?
Yes.
What are you studying?
I'm studying at Melbourne University.
Okay.
I'm doing a PhD, which the subject is the recent history of film distribution and exhibition in Australia. So basically researching the screen business and looking at how it can develop and sustain itself into the future, because it's having kind of issues at the moment, even pre-COVID and that sort of thing. So just with streaming services and technologies and all that sort of thing. So yeah, just looking at the past, present and future of the screen industry.
Do you see any potential in blockchain technology for?
Yes and no. Like I think that's almost too much to think about for the industry, because the screen industry is just so.
Just your mic.
Yeah. The screen industry is so rooted in the old way of doing things, which is one of the problems of the screen industry, is that it's so traditional in its way of thinking. And so for the screen industry, whether it's production, distribution or exhibition, to break out of that and think about working in a completely different way, I don't think they have the mind to do it. So even if there was a future in blockchain, I don't think the industry will be able to understand it. And that's one of the big problems of the screen industry at the moment, is that it is just so traditional in its thinking. And despite the whole world changing around it incredibly fast, they're still rooted to doing exactly the same thing like what they always have done. And that's their demise. It's like in my study, it's a organisational inertia. They're just stuck, it's not that even they're too afraid to do anything else. They just don't know what the anything else is. They have no concept of change. And the reason for that is because they have done things the same way for so long and been incredibly successful at it and made billions and billions and billions of dollars doing it.
So they're sticking to their comfortable zone.
Yeah, and they have this narrow way of thinking that, it'll all come good again. It'll all come good again. We did it one time, when TV happened, it was a challenge and we beat that challenge. When video happened, that was a challenge, but we beat that challenge and we came back. And so they keep applying that, and they still say exactly that. They keep applying that to the future of the industry. It's like, streaming services have taken away our audiences, but we'll get them back. We've done it twice before.
Yeah.
So they keep applying it like that, and that's their demise, because I don't think they'll come back they won't come back in the same way that they were.
So what would you do differently?
Look, the secret, the future is written in the past, and if they look back to the great traditions of cinema, this is the cinema-going experience, going to the movies, and look back to the way movies and the experience connects to an audience. And I'm not saying you go back and build those beautiful old cinemas or anything like that, but you take the emotion that those places gave to audiences and you apply it in a contemporary way. So with my PhD, that's what it's looking at, because what those old cinemas was not the films were not the product that was for sale. The product that was for sale was a memory. Was a future memory, and an experience that you started the experience from the moment you decided to go to the movies that night or that day or 2 days before.
Right.
So you start you plan it, you figure out how you're going to get there, what you're going to do, your drinks, your dinner, you know, how you're going to get home, bus route, the whole thing. And as you're going through the journey of getting to the cinema, when you get to the cinema, that's also a journey through in the old days anyway, through beautiful architecture and transformational experiences. And that's the product. And I think cinemas today have forgotten that product, and now they're just interested in a transaction, getting money out of you. That's all.
Yeah, it's a good example for, or analogy for life too.
I agree.
Right?
I completely agree.
And I remember when I was young, going to Blockbuster.
Yeah.
And hiring a movie out, it was an experience.
That's exactly right.
You get in the car.
That's exactly right.
The emotions of excitement are jolting in you.
Yeah, that's right.
You drive there, you park up, and then you go inside, and then you see all the VHSs or the DVDs, and you're like, "Whoa, man, this!" And then you get the popcorn and all that stuff, and you get in the car, you go home.
Yeah.
So like that experience, and then you actually watch the movie.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then you got to take it back again.
So how are you doing that? How are you gonna? Yeah, taking it back too. Yeah. Yeah, hence why I got these VHSs here. Like, to me, it's like a really what it is it's a memory trigger for me. Because it reminds me of my childhood.
That's right. So you're not going to see a movie. You're buying a memory, and that you're right. It applies to so many things, and I think like in our culture, we are so used to. No, I'll rephrase that. In our culture, everyone is trying to get something out of you all the time. You're a transact. You are a transacted product. You are a product, and the more you mask that transaction, and the more that is given back to you, more than the product, the deeper the connection and the closer the alignment to the product is. So you have to, I think, cinemas and businesses and such have to hide the transaction. The more you hide it behind architecture, let's say, or an experience, and the more it doesn't look like, you have to hide the fact that you're trying to get money out of people and deliver something that's different to, you know, just something like this, just an artifact. It's got to be more than the artifact.
Could you do it with a positive intention? Like
totally.
As in me and you, for example, we go into business together and we're like, hey, this is what we're going to deliver. This is what we're going to create. This is what you're going to get out of it. This is what I'm going to get out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we disclose our interests in the beginning of the relationship.
Yep.
Do you think that's a more functional way of approaching it?
Yeah. Look, you don't. People know that they got to pay you money to go to the movies. So there's a transaction there that's not hidden. But in the broader context, let's take, say, for instance, the Luna Cinema in Leederville, where the film festival that we're doing now is on at. That building is right on the corner of a high street. Like, you know, there's owner-operators trading all the way up the street there. So it's part of the community. People see it every day. It's integrated into the community, and it's architecturally part of the high street, and it dominates the whole strip along Oxford Street there. So but what the cinema does do as well is that it brings people to the area where the other businesses in the area can benefit from. It actively contributes to the community through cultural screenings and being a cultural meeting place, which those cinemas are. People go there and they hang out. But if you go to a cinema in a shopping centre, they're not designed to keep you there. They're not designed to make you sit down like this and talk. They're designed to move you through the space as fast and as efficiently as they possibly can. Yeah, you're in. Yeah. You're in. Give us your money. You're out. Yeah. That's how they're actually physically designed for that very purpose, to move you. But a cinema like Luna is not designed like that. That's designed to keep you there and for you to meet your friends there.
A lot of businesses nowadays are following that trend of get you in and then out. I went to a barber shop the other day, and there's no reception. You press a button for what you want, a ticket comes out, and then when the ticket comes out, the barber comes to you, and he literally just follows. You don't talk to him.
Yeah.
He follows what the order you ordered.
Yeah.
and then he just shaves you, and then he's got like a vacuum, and he's sucking you with a. I feel like a fucking sheep, bro. Like I'm like a sheep shearer. You know what I mean? Like this guy's just shaving me.
Yeah.
And there was like no. I felt used.
Yeah.
Like,
this is exactly it. And when you go to cinemas now, like the commercial cinemas, you buy your ticket from a ticket kiosk.
Yeah.
Exactly like McDonald's. They're the same machines as buying a hamburger. And when you take the
they got the same machines now.
Well, yeah. So they're ticket kiosks, and you order your meal, i.e. the film, and that's it. And there's no one selling you a ticket. There's no service. When you go there, when you get your ticket, in not all the venues, but when you get your ticket, you have to walk through the candy bar. You can't go around the candy bar. You have to walk through the candy bar. And so you have no choice except to do it. And at every step of the way, your face is pushed into the fact that you're a consumer. And they rub it into your face. And that is the big mistake. They have that, in my view, that has to be completely hidden. So that's the way that I think the industry can move forward. The lessons are already learned, and it's not necessarily a difficult thing to do. You just have to have an open mind and be aware of your own history.
I take my own popcorn.
I'm
like smuggling it through like chocolates in my pants and shit.
I take my own popcorn when I go to the commercial cinemas, like the Village Cinemas and such, and Hoyts. But when I go to an independent cinema, I buy the popcorn there to help them. But and my family hate it. My family hate me making popcorn. Like I'll always say when we go into the movies, look, I'll make the popcorn. And they're like, no, Dad, no, not the popcorn, not the popcorn. So, so I only do it for myself.
Even that, like even making the popcorn for when you used to get like blockbuster films, like that was even an experience.
That's part of the experience.
You're hearing it pop and stuff. Like I do with my daughter now. Like, she comes, she brings a little stool, she stands on the stool, she puts the popcorn in. And like at that moment, I'm living vicariously through her.
Absolutely.
Or she's just connecting to Dad. And they're just doing things.
It's all part of it.
They're just playing, and
it's all part of it.
So essentially, the new model is very dead when it comes to experience.
There is no experience. You're a product. You are the product, and they don't hide the fact that all they want from you is your money. That's it. And in my view, that's the mistake. That's the mistake. They've removed, traditionally, and there's a couple of other things too, if you want me to talk about.
Let's go into it.
Also, the product is service. It's not the film. The film is part of the experience. It's not the experience. So that's number one. When you remove the service, i.e. people serving you, that's a big mistake too. Because in the traditional way of going to the movies, and this is not very long ago really, there was no class. No one was treated at a higher status than anyone else. Everyone paid the same amount of money and got treated the same.
But now you got VIP seats.
This is the thing. Now they have introduced class into it. So there is a status, and if you have more money, you get better treatment. This is exactly the opposite of how cinemas in the traditional way were set up. They were set up to be a classless experience where everyone got treated like a king or a queen. And they're not now. Now money talks and you get better service. So in my opinion, that again is a big mistake. The cinemas need to get back to they don't need to, but I would advise cinemas to get it back to a classless society, a classless, treatment, and everyone gets treated the same, and everyone gets treated well, and bringing in those VIP and gold class and all that sort of thing at high prices. That's just to make more money, but it doesn't make more money in the end. It's a completely false economy, and the lower the prices are, actually the more money you will make, because it's so much more accessible. Anyone can go to the movies now. It's like for a full price ticket, like $22.50, something like that. It's like, man, $22.50, you have to be kidding me. To be treated like shit? I got better things to spend my money on than that. And so people are staying at home and watching streaming services and all that sort of thing, in my view, not because the streaming services are better, but because on the other side, on the theatrical side of the industry, there is no experience anymore. And the move to digital projecting instead of like 35mm projecting and all that sort of thing, it's like we all have like either a digital projector at home. I've got 4 in my house, or a TV screen where you can plug your computer into it and watch something from your computer or whatever, and computers themselves. And so the understanding of what is behind movies and projecting movies is understood very openly by the domestic audience. It's been completely demystified. So it's not a mystified experience anymore going to the movies. People understand it. So the ordinary experience of being at home has been elevated to an extraordinary experience.
How do you bring that? How do you bring the experience that was once, because the world's evolving, it's changing,
yeah,
and we can't rely on people like these corporations to create this change that you want to create. How do you bring that experience to people at home now? Because fundamentally, it's an emotion that they're feeling, right?
Well,
how do you bring that emotion
that's right.
to them?
It's all about emotion. So to give it to them at home, well, the whole idea is to not give it to them at home. This is in the cinema kind of thing. The idea is to get them out of their home and give it to them in a public space or in a space that is outside of the domestic, outside of the ordinary. Because the whole point of going to the movies is that it's not an ordinary experience. It's an extraordinary experience. So you need to harness the notion of the extraordinary and harness the notion of an experience. And that experience really is a transformational journey. It's a journey through architectural space. It's a journey through, emotional space, and it's a journey through time. When you're watching the movie, you are transported to another place, another time, another country, another planet, all these kind of things. So for the audience, it's a transformational journey, and that is the thing that cinemas need to harness. And for years in my career in the industry, for many times, I've gone completely outside of cinemas and shown films in other places, vacant, shop fronts and bars and clubs and nightclubs and RSL clubs and all kinds of things.
Yeah, making the most of space.
That's right. But also, these are places that are important to people, like RSL clubs and rock venues. That's places where people inhabit, and they're familiar with them. They know them. They know the protocols. And all you need to do is just change the context a little bit. It's like they know these places for rock and roll venues, and suddenly there's a film in there. It's like, oh, that's cool. And so it takes what they know and just moves it just a little bit. It doesn't move it a lot, just a little bit, just enough for it to be a different thing for them. And it's a familiar space to them, and it's cool.
Yeah, I agree. I do stand-up comedy. And during the whole pandemic phase, I wasn't able to perform inside a club.
Yeah.
So I created this idea in my head. I was like, why do I have to do it in a club?
Yeah.
So what I did was I booked an outdoor amphitheater.
Yep.
And I got a car club involved.
Yep.
And we got 10 really funny comedians come down.
Yeah.
We sold out on first release. And we just, because I love cars too. Yeah. So we had all these cars just parked in this outdoor amphitheater.
Yeah.
And we just had these comedians just making jokes, and it was so nice because it was in nature.
Yeah.
Like I love being out in the bush too.
Yeah, I like that too.
So I wanted to kind of merge it together, and just that whole, there's like a picnicky vibe. It was nice. So I get what you mean about making the most of the space, but making a bit of shift to it.
Yeah, that's right. Fundamentally, you're doing the same thing as you would in a nightclub. You're doing comedy.
Yeah.
But the context is different. And see, this is what I'm saying in my PhD, and it's what I believe anyway. It's all about context. It's not about the content. You can get people to come and see your home photos if you want, but it's the way that you hang the pictures and the place that you hang the pictures and the light, the way you put the light in the picture.
Light is key.
Is the context. It's not the content. The content's not the important thing. The context is the important thing.
And even if the content's good, like that's like a plus plus.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
That's exactly
you
right.
master the space.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly
It's very interesting because I was researching in the Amazon jungle indigenous communities
Yes.
and their use of hallucinogenic brews.
Yes.
Such as ayahuasca, which contains DMT in it.
Which is a hallucinogenic.
Yeah. So it's psychoactive, and
Yeah.
they use it in ceremonial rituals
Yeah.
for spiritual.
Is it a sacred thing?
It's like very sacred.
Yeah.
So they use it for like spiritual healing, emotional healing, and physical healings.
Yeah.
So whilst I was using it there, and I was learning from the shaman taught me it's not about the medicine.
Yeah.
It's about the space you're having it in.
That's right.
He's like, look where
That's
you
exactly
are, and
right.
I was
This
like,
is exactly
yeah.
right.
He's like, you're in the middle of a jungle. You have no phone. You've got no connection. You've got no. Your diet's completely different.
Yes.
You're in a different space right now.
Yeah.
And I didn't really get that until I started cleaning my room more. You know, and when I say clean, I mean I started dusting the underneath of my bed and like really
That's going a little bit too far.
Yeah,
but anyway, go on.
No, but like the feeling of like your room is just really clean, and when you lay in it, it's like it does some sort of therapeutic benefit to your mind where you're like, all right, fuck.
That's right.
That's right. This is relaxing.
It's the same as exercise.
The same as exercise, yeah.
When the architecture of your body starts to change.
Yeah. So let's get into the questions.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Alrighty-o.
That looks like an ancient book.
This is the ancient book. It was passed down to me through my great-great-granddad.
Uh-huh.
Not actually. I bought it from the shops. Okay, so question number 1.
Yes.
If you were a character in a film,
Yes.
if life was a film, what character would you be?
If life was a film, what character would I be? Do you mean if I could transport myself into a movie? The kind of character that I would like to be,
we're in a movie now.
Okay.
So I'm another actor, and this is all a stage. Life is a game. Life is a stage. What character are you like in this movie?
What character am I in this movie? Look, I like to think there was a TV show when I was growing up called Columbo, and the TV show was all about. It was a detective who was very unassuming, and everyone thought it was a complete idiot. But in fact, he always solved the crime and was incredibly logical and smart and had an understated kind of charisma. That is the kind of person I think I would translate into on the screen and in a TV show like Columbo, I guess. I don't know if that's a good enough answer, to be honest with you. But then perhaps there's the heroic character, like I see your Jaws posters there, like the Roy Schneider character in Jaws, in the original Jaws. I think
you resonate with that?
I think I could be that.
Yeah.
I think I could be that.
Okay.
Just the accidental hero.
Accidental hero. And that hero-ness, would that be in your personal life, or would that be from your achievements in the media industry?
That would probably be in my potential of saving the day. And just like what we were talking about with the screen industry, of being able to stand up in the industry and say, I can save your life.
Like you said, man, it's all about an emotion.
Yes.
And that realization is worth more than $1 billion.
Yes.
Because it's fundamentally grounded in experience.
Yes.
And you're really starting to disconnect from material reality.
Yes.
And going deeper into more of a spiritual realm where like you can't really see this emotion, but you can see the effect it's having on your body.
I agree with that. Yeah.
So that realization in itself, I can see how that can change the day.
Yeah.
Where, shit might be hitting the fan.
Yeah.
And you know what these people need. You
Yes.
need to feel a bit of security, the notion of safety.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you'd be a hero mix. What about if you were a villain?
If I was a villain.
Yeah.
If I was a villain. These are hard questions. If I was a villain, I reckon there's some of the films that I might talk about might be a little bit old, but if I was a villain, let's say, for instance, like the movie, there's a movie back in the 70s called The Towering Inferno, and it was set in a skyscraper that was on fire, and it was one of those big disaster movies for the time, around the time of Jaws, actually. And there was a character in the movie who wanted to get out of the building, but he didn't want to wait. He wanted to jump the queue, actually, kind of to get out of the building. And so he basically literally pushed his way to the front of the queue and got onto this chair that took him from one building to another, the burning building to the other building. And in the end, he was killed because of his own kind of rash behaviour, as were other people. So the potentially is that, because I'm quite impulsive with what I do, and if I have an idea, I do it right then. And sometimes it works, and everyone shares in the glory, and sometimes it doesn't work, and everyone feels the pain. So that's potentially kind of the type character. It was played by Richard Chamberlain, who was a very famous actor for the time. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
That gets, I'm understanding the both sides, you know, like the both personalities of like the characters.
Yes.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
So question number 2.
Question 2, yes.
What advice would you give your 20-year-old self if you could go back in time?
What advice would I give my 20-year-old self? The advice I would give my 20-year-old self would be never spend your own money unless you're prepared to lose it. Because I invested a lot in my career early on, in just doing things. You know, if I had an idea for a film show or film season or something to do in a bar or a club or whatever, I would do it from no money and hope that the box office that I make will pay for the event, which never works out that way. Once you start getting in debt, certainly in the arts, you stay in debt. It takes a long time to dig yourself out of debt in the arts because there's no money in it. So that was not having money based on the fact that I invested it in trying to make money and trying to build a career, that put me behind very early on. And I've been in the industry, in the screen industry, since about 1987, something like that. And
classic.
I will say, in all honesty, it's been only maybe the last 6 years that I've dug myself out of debt or not had to worry about money, like just to pay the rent. And I'm 60, nearly 60, I'm 59.
It's a lot of pressure, a lot of stress.
Yeah, tell me about it, especially when you've got a family going and all that sort of thing.
Kids?
Yeah, 3 kids. It's like you have to, like with me, and not everyone does things the same way and that sort of thing, I had to, everything I am and have done, and I'm no great shakes by any stretch, you know, I'm just doing it. I've invented everything.
Creator.
And I've invented it all from scratch, and it's super hard work. It's incredibly tiring, and for instance, you know, when you're existing on funding from government sources or this and that, you know, and it's 3 days before Christmas, and you have to buy your family Christmas presents and that sort of thing 3 days before Christmas, and high expectation from everyone around you. No one knows the stress that you're going through and how you're going to find money.
Did you talk to anyone about it, like your wife?
She knew the pressure, but the pressure the pressure is. I didn't want her to feel that pressure, so I tried to shield everyone from.
So you took it all on yourself.
Yeah. So I tried to shield everyone from that, because it's too much to bear. You know, it's too much to worry, for other people to worry about. What are we going to do for Christmas or a birthday or something like that? Using that as an example.
It's a lone wolf.
Well, yeah, and it's really. But also, you don't want to project, even to your own family, and this is just me, that things are not going according to plan, and that this can go on for a very long time. So you need to build in, you don't need to, but I built in a sense that everything was going to be okay in the end. And you know what? Everything turned out okay. But there's a long, hard road to get there if you choose that path. Now, I chose that path. My old man was a very freewheeling guy, you know. He was a free spirit. And I learned a lot from him like that, from that. And and I always looked at him and I said, you know, it wasn't until he was like about 53 where he was actually had a life independent of worry about money. He was still working and all that sort of thing. And so I always said to myself, look, you know what? It's going to take me till I'm like in my early 50s before people actually start to understand what I'm doing, and I can, you know, carve a path out for myself, and I can be okay with my career and sustainable. And you know what? That's exactly how it turned out. So it took a long time. It was a long road. It was a lot of stress, a lot of experimentation, but it was just a fucking blast as well. I had the best time.
Yeah.
No one ever told me what to do. No one ever told me. The more I heard the word no, the more I did it.
The more fuel you got.
Yeah. And I still am like that. The more I'm told, I've tried, you know, we've tried that before, that won't work. I say,
try that now.
I'm gonna show you.
Yeah, a renegade.
Yeah. Well, mate, if that's the word that you want to use, I'd probably say outsider.
Outsider. Okay.
But it's funny because the outside, being on the outside, and still working on the inside, it's a very good life, and free. So that's what I would tell my younger self but just don't spend your own money unless you're prepared to use it.
How would you have done it differently? So if you can go back into your 20-year-old self now, how would you have done it differently? Like, because now that you have this realization, not to use your own money, what would you have done?
If I was actually to take my own advice, which I probably wouldn't, when I was 20, I would have put a little bit of money in the bank. I would have worked. I would have still done what I wanted to do, but I would have probably put a little bit of money in the bank. But look, you know, a number of years ago, like when I was about 40, and I was looking for an overdraft for the film festival to just allow me to finance a little bit, and the relationship manager at the bank, you know, I spoke to him. And he said, okay, what kind of collateral have you got? What kind of security have you got? I don't have a house, like I still rent, you know, a house and that sort of thing. So I didn't really have anything except an old car, beautiful 1966 Ford, actually. And he said, oh, so you got no house? And I said, no. And he said, you know, and just asked me another couple of questions about assets. And he stopped and he said, what have you done wrong in your life for not having a house? You know, what have you done wrong? And that just floored me. What have I done wrong? Aside live my best life, you know, aside from do what I want to do, and be honest about it. What have I done wrong? So that's.
You say anything to him?
Well, yes. Like, what do you mean? What have I done wrong? I'm working.
Yeah.
I'm working, but it doesn't matter. You know, it's a computerized response, even though it's a person. It's like, well, if you don't have the asset, you don't get the money. Simple. It's a very simple equation.
A fucking robot.
It's a very simple equation. And this guy was probably, you know, on the other end of the line squeezing his pimples, you know. It's like... Anyway, so if I was to go back and do it, I probably would have been more considered. I probably would have tried to finance, have the finance before I started to do things, and I probably would have tried to maybe look at getting an asset, because although assets are not important to me, it's important to other people, and those things can trigger things that can benefit you, and
help in forging relationships.
But they can shortcut you through. It's taken me, you know, 30 years to get to a place where I like it. But I've always liked it, and the journey has just been incredible.
There's always rough patches.
Yeah, but that's right. But that can be intense. They can be really intense.
Especially when you're following a path that's not walked before.
I agree.
Because there's no reference point to go to. there's very limited reference point to go to because there are other people who have similar experiences.
I agree. But there is no path.
In that place, like who can you can't your wife can't understand you. No one understands you. It's just you.
That's right.
And you're walking this path, and it's just like, man, have I lost myself in the delusion?
That's exactly right.
Am I on the path? But then there's something inside you that's like, keep going.
And that's exactly right. And the other thing is, sometimes you reach a point of no return where it's too late to go back.
You're like, no, I gotta prove it to myself.
I'm committed now.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
I think we're coming into a generation with more individuals with that mindset now.
I agree.
I
think so. I don't
know, the Matrix seems like or the game or the current system, it's not holistic.
I agree.
It doesn't look at the emotions.
Exactly.
And hence why I think there's a lot of sadness out there.
I agree with that.
At least I've experienced it myself.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. Next question.
Let's do it. Why did you choose to come to this planet right now?
Why did I choose to come to this planet? I think, you know what, and I don't want to put it in business terms, but in the business plan for the film festival, the very first line in that business plan is, it's a vision statement. What are we here to do? And that, it's one line, to make a difference. That's the vision statement of the festival. But that's my code. And
is that through film? You want to make a difference?
Well, that's my speciality. But
film.
it's actually the film again. It's not about the thing.
It's the vessel.
It's about the context.
Yeah. Okay.
That you put it in. And so for me, to make a difference is the thing. If I can turn one person's head to look at the world in a different way and open them, not necessarily to the way that I think, but to just open their mind a little bit, that I've succeeded. And when I learned this a number of years ago, like, I'm not interested in the screen industry. I'm not interested in making a ton of money. I'm not interested in the red carpets and celebrities. I've been there. I've been to the Cannes Film Festival on the red carpet with Madonna, and I've seen it. Well, I wasn't actually with her, but I was on the red carpet, and she was also. It's a blast. It's an absolute blast. I mean, it's the reddest red carpet you will see anywhere. And after walking on that red carpet, there's no other red carpet for me. I'm just not interested.
So it's like a special red carpet.
Yeah. At the Cannes Film Festival, yeah.
I wonder who's the provider for that carpet.
I have no idea. It's a very big carpet. Anyway, so a number of years ago, I was working for the National Film and Sound Archive with a film festival that I travelled around the bush with, very remote areas. And I went to a town here in Western Australia called Wagen. And it's a wheat belt town, small town. It had a little cinema there, like 60 seats, run by an old guy who'd converted an old power station into a cinema. And I had a barbecue set up out on the street, and I'd have beers and wine for people, that were coming to the movies. Yeah. It was all free. And on the first night, I was there for 3 days. On the first night, the whole cinema was packed. It was full of people. But they were all wearing their best clothes, their Sunday best clothes, their best clothes. It was a big social occasion for them. And those very same people came back to every single session that I did for the film festival, and there was like about 10 sessions or so. And I said, you guys are so great. And they always came dressed up. You guys are so great. You're coming to see everything. And they said, look, we're here, so you come back. If we don't turn up, you won't come back here. And that moment.
That got me in the feels.
Yeah, that moment when I was talking to them, and they said that to me, and they were there in their town, and those country towns are dying, and they're there in their town, fanning the flames, fanning the embers, trying to get the flames going again. And that changed me. That in the way that I thought about my role in the screen industry. And I thought, you know what, me being here, it is changing them, and it's bringing them into the world, including them in the world. And that really changed me. So that time, that moment, I shifted myself completely to work for the community and for the community. So I'm not interested in progressing my own career or being the head of the Melbourne Film Festival, the head of Sydney Film Festival, the head of this and head of that. That doesn't interest me anymore. It used to, but from that moment it didn't. And that was like probably 2001 that occurred to me. So I've been dedicated to contributing to the community through cinema. And that's not converting people to cinema, but it's using the platform that I have to create positive and critical communities.